1993, I was in a local Circle K. In that Circle K was a full arcade version of SNK. On that machine was the game Samurai Showdown. And then it flashed across the screen, scoring to the Ainu. I was like, what's an Ainu? So I did what any young person in the 90s would have did for research. I hit the encyclopedias. I still found next to nothing about the Ainu, but I put about 100 quarters in that machine. In recent years, people have been very curious about the Ainu and their culture, while at the same time devaluing them by thinking of the Ainu as just noble savages or vanishing images in a old book. The Ainu, much like all other oppressed people, are striving to be humane in an inhumane world. Recently, scholars have linked the Ainu with the Jamun people of ancient Japan. The range of the Jamun was from Hokkaido to Okinawa. The area inhabited by the Jamun in reality may be much farther north and south. The remains of the Jamun people reveal that they had a longer, broader brain case than the modern Japanese. Jamun people had a short, broad face. The nose and the brow was wide. The dimensions of the limbs and the skull of the Jamun are in line with the Australian Aborigines. There are also similarities with the natives of Jarawa. All this shows that a large migration began in Africa. They traveled by sea to India and moved to Southeast Asia. After that, the group split up. One went south and became the Negroes of Tasmania, Australia, and New Guinea. The other group went north and became the Mamanwa of the Philippines, the Okinawans, and the Ainu. Besides similar houses, cultures, and faces, these people share one more common feature.
Dingo took the baby!
The dingo and the Shiba are very similar dogs. Recent genetic studies show that the dingoes spend a lot of time in South China, and people have a long friendship with dogs, so we can trace the type of people by the type of dogs that they kept. We can also trace the type of dogs by the type of people that they kept. Dogs were kept by the Jamun people. The type was similar to the Shiba and to the dingo. The other was brought by the Japanese later. The Jamun people are proven to be a part of the Australian group. The cradle of the Dingo Shiba group will never be found in the search if the search is conducted in the wrong area. The Basenji breed is native to Central Africa. They are known also as the Congo dog, the Ongo dog, the African bush dog, and the Zonde dog. The Basenji was used throughout Central Africa, but the Zonde people were known for the breed. The name Zonde in their language is called the people. The Ainu also refers to themselves as the people. The Zonde are proud and freedom-loving. This also describes the Ainu. The Basenji looks a lot like the dingo and the Shiba. Notice the curled tail. Scientists have yet to investigate the relationship because they don't want to believe the results. The Zonde are famous for their use of throwing knives, much like the shuriken of the ninja. This weapon was borrowed from the Ainu by the Japanese. On February 15, 1980, a 2,200-year-old dugout home was found near Osaka. This house was similar to the dugouts found in the South African Bushmen. The Ainu performed a dance where the ladies whip their hair. This dance is strongly similar to an Ethiopian dance. The Ainu share similar sword dances with Saharan people and also bow and arrow dances. Scholars that study ancient cultures are debating whether the Yayoi or the Jamun brought the horses. It is a popular belief that the horse did not, that the Jamun did not have horses. Recently, horse bones have been found from early prehistoric and Neolithic period. The horse was the small Mongolian horse of Central Asia. These horses were found to come from Korea around about 2,000 years ago. That was supposed to be 400 years before they were supposed to be horses in Japan.
A very beautiful woman had a husband. He was a very skillful fellow. Once he went to the mountains and disappeared, but at night he returned, bearing a deer on his back. After feasting on the deer, they went to bed. But in the middle of the night, the woman wept and screamed, saying, "This man is not my husband." Alarmed by her cries, the neighbors ran out and came into her house, and one strong fellow took a stick and beat the husband, saying, "You must be some sort of devil." Whereupon the husband turned into a horse and ran away neighing. Afterwards he was beaten to death. The truth was that the husband had been killed and supplanted by the horse. That was the first the Ainu saw of horses. In ancient days every sort of creature could thus assume human shape. So it is said.
The Japanese and the Ainu have a love-hate relationship similar to the love-hate relationship between the Americans and the Native Americans. The Japanese have been fighting the Ainu since 400 AD when they arrived from the Korean Peninsula. In 1264, the Ainu invaded the lands of the Nuf people. The Nuf people at the time were subject to the Mongolian Khans. The Mongols knew little about the Ainu. The Mongols called them the Kugi. The Ainu were beaten back, but returned the following year, crushing the Nuf people. A peace delegation was sent to the Ainu asking them to join the Mongolian Empire, which was a rare thing. In 1284, after constant attacks from the Ainu, the Mongols attacked the islands, and the Ainu pursued a hit-and-run war against the Mongols that was very effective.
Among the Ezo, when they fight, they usually attack at night when the enemy is not expecting them. There are some Ezo who are skillful in magic and enter the enemy's camp secretly with being observed. I think ninjutsu is a kind of Ezo method.
The third Mongol invasion smashed the Ainu resistance. Upon the death of Kublai Khan, the Ainu attacked the mainland again in 1296 and 1297. Both attacks were repulsed. Timur Khan completely destroyed the Ainu strongholds once and for all and executed all of their leaders. The Mongol attackers were armed with cannons and the latest firearms. Kublai Khan dealt the final blow in 1308. The Ainu of Sakhalin, Kuril, and Kamchatka Peninsula never recovered from this defeat. The Ainu in Hokkaido and Honshu, on the other hand, were just getting started. Disputes between the Ainu and the Japanese were getting worse and worse, and finally regressed into a war. The Ainu leader was killed by Takai Nobuhiro. Some Ainu were subject to the Japanese. This is the origin of both the ninja and the samurai. These Ainu revolted. That's why the ninja were treated so differently in Japanese history. Many Ainu revolted. One of these revolts was the Kashumani's revolt. The revolt began over a sword, oddly enough. The Ainu Kashumansi and his followers sacked 24 forts before being killed. 1669 and 1672 saw the Shakushami Revolt. The Ainu fought for control over trade ran by the Matsume family. This was the last real fight between the Ainu and the Japanese. The Manashi Kanashur War began in 1789. The Ainu killed 70 Japanese. They in turn killed 37 Ainu and arrested many others. The Meiji Restoration in 1868 was a time of change for all of Japan. Japan became more westernized. Admiral Perry arrived in Japan in 1854 bringing American ideas. One of the ideas that they learned was how to treat natives. The Ainu was labeled as former Aborigines and was assimilated. The Ainu was granted automatic Japanese citizenship, much like African Americans were given citizenship after the Civil War, and Native Americans were given citizenship as part of the Indian Removal Act. Many of the Ainu in Hokkaido was actually descended from Ainu that fled the Kuril and Sakhalin Islands.
Complicating the picture, the oldest skeletons found in South America appear to be related to a different group of early Asians. Spirit caveman, for example, doesn't look a whole lot like these 9,000-year-old skeletons from Brazil. And in many ways, the South American samples look much more like Australian Aborigines or people from Melanesia. The 11,400-year-old skeleton called Lucia is one of those early South Americans who resembles Australian Aborigines. But that doesn't mean that she came from Australia. What may be going on is that Lucia represents a group of people who started from a central place in Asia, some of whom migrated south into Australia, others who came into the New World. We're not saying that Australians came across in boats, but simply that those two populations at some point could have had common ancestry.
Anyar waro, arek anyar da joko, bakal